Elias was a man made of salt and solitude. For 30 years, he had been the keeper of the Phelan Point lighthouse, a lonely stone sentinel on a jagged claw of land that jutted into the unforgiving Atlantic. His world was the rhythmic sweep of the beacon, the cry of gulls, and the ceaseless whisper of the waves. Then came Clara. She arrived one summer, a botanist from the city, tasked with studying the resilient wildflowers that clung to the cliffs. She had hair the color of autumn leaves, and a laugh that seemed to chase the fog away. Elias, a man of few words, found himself talking for hours with her. He showed her the intricate workings of the Fresnel lens, which he polished like a secret jewel. She showed him the secret world of the tiny, vibrant plants that thrived in the harshest of conditions. They fell in love in the slow, inevitable way the tide comes in. Theirs was a love story written in shared sunrises, cups of tea against the wind, and the comfortable silence of two souls who understood each other without need for explanation. For the first time, the lighthouse wasn't a fortress of solitude for Elias. It was a home. At the end of the summer, Clara held his calloused hands in her soft ones. "I have to go back, Elias. My grand is over." Panic, cold and sharp, seized him. "Stay," he'd whispered, the word tasting foreign on his tongue. "I can't," she said, her eyes shimmering with tears. "But I will come back, I promise. Every summer I'll come back to you." And she did. For 4 years, every June, her car would appear on the winding coastal road, and Elias's world would bloom into color. The lonely months between were filled with her letters, filled with pressed flowers and descriptions of a bustling city life that felt a world away. He kept every single one in a wooden chest by his bed. Then, on the 5th year, June came and went. No car appeared. July bled into August. The letters stopped. Elias wrote, his words growing more desperate with each unanswered page. He called the university where she worked, only to be told she no longer held a position there. He had no other address, no family to contact. Clara was simply gone. The sadness that descended upon Elias was heavier than any winter storm. The lighthouse once again became his prison. The rhythmic sweep of the light, once a symbol of his love, now felt like a clock ticking away the lonely seconds of his life. He grew older, his hair turning the color of sea foam, his face a map of grief etched by the wind. The townsfolk whispered about the heartbroken lighthouse keeper, a ghost haunting his own life. He stopped looking for her car on the road, forcing his eyes to stay fixed on the horizon, on the ships that needed his light, the only promise he had left to keep. 15 years passed. 15 years of silence. The wooden chest of letters remained closed. The hope inside him had long since withered and died, leaving only a hollow ache. One blustery autumn afternoon, a tour bus, a rare sight so late in the season, rumbled up the road to the lighthouse. Elias ignored it, as he always did. Tourists were noisy, and he had no heart for their cheerful questions. He was polishing the brass of the lamp when he heard footsteps on the spiral staircase, slow and hesitant. "It's a private residence," he called out, his voice a gravelly rustle from disuse. He didn't turn around. "The light is just as beautiful as I remember," a soft voice said. The rag dropped from Elias's hand. The sound clattered in the sudden, ringing silence of the room. He knew that voice. He knew it in his bones, in the very marrow of his soul. But it was impossible. A trick of the wind? A memory so strong that it had become a hallucination? He turned around slowly, his heart a painful drum against his ribs. Standing in the doorway was a woman with hair the color of autumn leaves, though now streaked with silver. Her face was lined with a history he didn't know, but her eyes were the same. They were filled with a universe of sorrow and regret. It was Clara. "Clara!" he breathed, the name a prayer he'd forgotten he knew how to say. Tears streamed freely down her face. "Elias, I'm so sorry." The story spilled out of her, broken and painful. Shortly after her last visit, she had been diagnosed with a severe neurological condition. It stole her motor skills, her memory, her ability to write or even speak clearly for a time. Her family, seeing her decline, had moved her to a special care facility inland. They had told her, in a moment of misguided kindness, that Elias had moved on, that he had a family now. They thought the clean break would be less painful than a long, drawn-out goodbye she might not even remember. "I never believe them," she whispered, her hand trembling as she reached out, not quite touching him. "I was trapped in my own mind, my own body. It's taken me all these years to recover, to get strong enough to find my way back." He closed the distance between them in 2 strides, his hands finding her face, his thumbs tracing the lines he had missed for a lifetime. He was not touching a ghost. She was real. She was warm. "I never moved on," he said, his voice thick with 15 years of unshed tears. "I never stopped keeping the light on for you." She leaned into his touch, a sob escaping her lips. "I saw it from the town. I knew you'd still be here." The sadness of the lost years was immense, a vast ocean between them. They had missed a lifetime together. But as they stood there, in the lantern room of the old lighthouse, with the gray Atlantic churning below, and the steady, brilliant light waiting for the dusk, they were not 2 broken people. They were Elias and Clara. He, the steadfast keeper of the flame. She, the wildflower who had survived the harshest of winters. The love they had was no longer the bright, easy love of a summer romance. It was scarred, weathered, and tempered by loss. But it had endured. And as he finally drew her into his arms, they both knew that while their story was one of deep, heartbreaking sadness, it was not over. It was just the beginning of their final, happy chapter, together.